Hello Stellaris Devourers, my name is David, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the Slingshot to the Stars origin. This is an origin that I commonly see referred to as the weakest origin, or one of the weakest origin, and I'm going to give my opinion and hopefully dispel that misconception. So I'm going to go to new game to show the build that I play with this origin. Let's have a look at it in more detail. So the origin itself is down here. Slingshot to the Stars. It came out with Overlord. You start with a ruined quantum catapult. I'm not going to lie, this is probably the most underwhelming part of this origin. It is not a good megastructure. It can be fun to play with, but it is not reliable and has very niche uses. The second bullet point is that it will occupy a guaranteed habitable world to get that somewhat lackluster megastructure. This is the part of the origin that most people tend to hate on. Your early game habitable worlds are quite important for your early game economy in a standard empire. However, it is the third bullet point that makes this pretty irrelevant. The new star bases built in remote systems cost 75% less influence. Now, this is the distance modifier. It makes colonizing and exploring, it basically means that it slows down your early game exploration. However, with minus 75 stacked with fanatic xenophobes, authoritarian for early game influence, and the second tradition in the exploration tree, you can quite easily grab choke points and worlds that are quite far away from you. With this build, I run Private Prospectors, which gives you private colony ships for 500 energy credits. This is opposed to 200 ally 200 minerals or food and 200 consumer goods, so it is much easier to pump these out at a very fast rate in the early game. The second one I run with is mutagenic spars, which is not a good tradition for is not a good civic in many ways, but it does allow you to build the vassal holding mutagenic spars, which allows vassals to generate unity for you, which is why I take it. Going over to the traits, I am playing a lithoid, role-playing a kind of psionic construct called the Galamic Assembly. They are lithoids. They have unruly and deviance, just for the free trait points. They have incubators, which allows you to pump out some quite a few populations in those worlds that you're going to be grabbing. It allows you to get scintillating skin, being lithoids, which allows you to have the crystalline sensors edict. That really helps your early game exploration, because with it you can explore your star system with your corvettes. And Natural Engineers is just a relatively easy pick. So I'm going to show you a save game I have. I did start this save game because I was going to make a longer video, but I can't be bothered, so I'm just going to show you my current main save game. Mod-wise, I'm not running anything that changes the mechanics. I'm running Tiny Outlier, which I just find condenses the interface over here. Lighter borders I find helps me read the map better, and I'm running more background loading screens. I'm also running this on Grand Admiral ×25 Crisis at the earliest date, with no scaling difficulties and adjusted difficulties, which is just the settings that I am running at the moment as a challenge to myself. So as you can see, in this save game, I'm 21 years into the game, and I already have 14 vassals, so 000 all the way down to 013. How did I do this? So I started off by exploring down there. I saw this world, I grabbed it. I then found my nearest neighbour, and because I found them early enough and I had the aggressive first contact protocol, I was able to prevent them from taking both of these colonizable worlds. You can play games with the AI by placing a Corvette over here and a Corvette over here, and just ping-ponging between the two to prevent them from colonizing their habitable worlds. They've colonized up here, but none of that really matters because there's no planets up here, because I beat them up here. I took this one, this one, this one. This one had an anomaly on it, which I've only just finished researching. I was also exploring in this direction at the same time, so I found some primitives over here, and I took that. I went over here, and I grabbed one of their habitable worlds, but I didn't get there fast enough to prevent them from taking this habitable world. And then I jumped from here all the way over here. This is the real strength of the Origin. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 worlds away, and if I remember right, it cost about 130 influence. It's decent amount of influence, but when you're talking about jumping from here to over here, that is a very small amount of influence to jump so far. And this is another habitable world of this guy. Then I went through them because they hadn't closed their border to me, because I traded them some favours just so that they had a positive opinion of me. And I am about to colonize this planet over here, and this one, and then over here my third neighbour is a void dweller. I grabbed this planet over here, I went through their territory to grab this one, and they are right next to Marauders. Marauders are my favourite early game enclave because you can hire a leader, and this leader is better than any other early game leader. They start at level 3, they have the evasion and fire rate. Without them, this Federation fleet is 40. Without them, it goes down to 2.3. Now that is quite a difference. One of the advantages of having a Vassal Swarm is that you can create a Federation. So by releasing one of your vassals, so this one I released, actually no, I released this one over here. I released this one. After a few months they ask to be revassalized, and at the same time you can propose they join your Federation. It creates a Federation just of your vassals, and you get the vassal back at the end of the day anyway. So quite a strong move. As a result, I have a possible Federation fleet that goes up to 71, maintenance free. That will allow me to fight my first early game war. As you can see, I'm gaining a lot of allies from my vassals. So each Prospectorium, so I'm just going to talk a little bit more about how you can use your vassals. The first one that I got, I always put the basic resources up to 75%. This really helps you keep the momentum going with that early game colonizing. This one is the one that I released and took back again, and once I took them back I have turned them into a bulwark, just because I thought that this guy might declare on me, and having a bulwark slows them down. Then the next two I got a foundry on each. Each of these foundries, if I go to these planets, each of these foundries creates for me 12 allies. That's quite strong in the early game, and each of the Ministry of Truths creates 0.44. That is actually reduced because for some reason this planet has devastation. Not sure why that is. Let's go to a different one to see, because it's normally 0.6. So this one's producing 14 for me, and this one is producing 0.5. So yeah, quite powerful. I haven't converted the rest of these yet. Each conversion takes about 50 influence, and I'm banking that for more exploration. My Scholarium over here, this was a 2-planet system. This guy is generating 60 science for me, which helps catch up because I don't focus research early on. And I think I also, so just to elaborate on why I took the mutagenic spar, this guy has got a mutagenic spar, which is creating 16 influence for unity for me, which is just a decent income when it starts stacking up. The result of having a very small empire of my own empire is that my sprawl is under 100, which sprawl isn't that important, but when you're trying to, it does impact technology cost, it does impact unity tradition costs, and by keeping it under 100 it can help to power through the tech tree. And I think that's it. There's a couple of other tips, so that's the main gist of the video. I'm also just going to mention that I have crystalline sensors. This really is what drove a lot of that early game exploration. It's 1,000 stars, and I've explored half the map already. And I've got fortify the border because I've got quite a few star bases. In the early game, I churn out all my ships from a starport that has 2 shipyards on it. But by the time I explored up here, it takes about 4 years for a colony ship to go from here to here, so it was faster to create a starbase up here and create some stuff locally. And that is Slingshot to the Stars. Very powerful. You can see that 14 vassals this early game gives me a lot of flexibility in what I do next. It's also quite powerful if I want to declare war on my AI neighbours, so if they only have one planet, that's only one planet that I need to take. So it's quite easy to play around the AI. If they were to send a fleet up here, so if they were to declare war and the first thing they'll do is take these 2 planets, which doesn't really hurt me because they're not my planets. Then the next thing they'll do is probably go up here and attack these 3 planets here. In that time, I can send my navy over here, and I can send my army over here, and I can take their 1 planet. That 1 planet, once I've taken that 1 planet, they are going to be willing to settle for a status quo peace, which will mean that any planets that have claims on will be transferred to the occupier, which means I will take their one and only planet and they will cease to exist as an empire. The same is true of the Void Dwellers over here. They only have 1 planet. That will be quite easy. The other trick you can do is you can send raiders, which will wipe out any fleets that they have. So this is an easy war, this is an easy war, and over here they have 2 planets here. That's slightly more difficult, but still, at this point it's quite easy to snowball out of control, and that is the real strength of this origin. And that is Slingshot to the Stars.